weekend. Chicago soy oil, European rapeseed, and Malaysian palm oil are higher. Crude oil is down amidst Middle East tensions and potential political shifts in some of the largest economies. The Canadian dollar is down less than 1/10 of a U.S. cent compared to Thursday's close. Statistics Canada reported today that Canada's economy grew by 0.3% in April. The November canola contract is up $2 per ton at $623.10. In the U.S., corn and wheat are down while soybeans are up. The U.S. Department of Agriculture will release its planting intentions and quarterly grain stocks reports later today. The average trade estimate is calling for an increase of 317,000 acres from March to U.S. corn plantings at 93.353 million. However, public estimates range from 89 million to 91.3 million. U.S. corn stocks are expected to be 4.873 billion bushels of corn on average as of June 1st, 770 million more than 1 year ago. The European Commission cut its forecast for 2024-25 corn by 3.8 million tons at 64.8 million. Ukraine shipped 29.2 million tons of old crop corn for export, according to the country's ag ministry. The September corn contract is down 1 U.S. cent per bushel at $4.22. The trade is expecting U.S. soybean acres to total 86.753 million ahead of today's report from the USDA, 243,000 more than the March estimates. Meanwhile, soybean stocks would total 962 million bushels, up 166 million from last year's figure. The International Grains Council projected global new crop soybean production at 415 million tons, up 1 million from last month and 23 million from last year. Argentine Oilseed Workers Union, SOEA, walked off the job today to protest reforms in the lower house of Congress endorsed by the country's president Javier Milei. The SOEA operates near Rosario, Argentina's agricultural hub. The August soybean contract is up 6 U.S. cents per bushel at $11.42. All wheat acres in the U.S. are expected to increase by 159,000 from March at 47.657 million. Winter wheat acres should see a slight increase, while spring wheat acres may be left unchanged. Wheat stocks are expected to total 684 million bushels, 134 million more than last year. Projected European Union wheat ending stocks for 2024-25 were cut by 400,000 tons at 13.1 million, while expected production was raised 1.7 million tons from the month before at 121.9 million. France's ag ministry rated the country's wheat crop at 60% good to excellent, down 2 points from last week. Ukraine exported 18.3 million tons of wheat in the 2023-24 marketing year so far. The September Chicago wheat contract is down 3 U.S. cents per bushel at $5.76. The September Kansas City hard red wheat contract is down 6 U.S. cents per bushel at $5.91. The September Minneapolis spring wheat contract is down 1 U.S. cent per bushel at $6.17. That's a look at the ICE futures in U.S. markets for Friday, June 28th. In Winnipeg from MarketsFarm.com, I'm Adam Pelashati. Have a great Canada Day.
Outstanding capacity, innovation, and the industry's highest density come together in a New Holland roll belt round baler available from Butler Farm Equipment in Fort St. John. Whether you make 4x5 foot, 4x6 foot, or 5x6 foot bales, there's a roll belt right for you. All models feature wide, durable pickups and smooth feeding systems for faster baling. Integrated precision solutions help you make smart baling decisions on the go. Stop by Butler Farm Equipment in Fort St. John today.
The opinions expressed on this show do not represent those of the station. If you've missed any of the shows, you can follow the podcast at Energeticcity.ca. Welcome to This Week in the Peace, a show dedicated to the people, events, and news of BC's Peace region. Here's your host, Dub Craig.
Good morning and welcome to the show. Later, I'll be chatting with Prince George Peace River Northern Rockies MP Bob Zimmer about the busy spring session on Parliament Hill and what he sees in store for government business into the summer months and into the fall when the House sits once again.
But first, the city of Fort St. John announced last week that its bulk water station will be closing for a few weeks for July for parking lot reconstruction, and residents have spent the days since that announcement raising their concerns in messages to council and on social media. To help clear up some misconceptions and address those concerns, we're speaking today with Fort St. John's Mayor Lilia Hansen. Lilia, thank you so much for coming on.
Good morning. Thanks for the opportunity.
Yeah, of course, and it's good to meet you as well. This is the first time we've met. So, for people who maybe don't entirely understand what's happening, can we start by just you walking me through when the water station will be closing, how long it will be closed for, and why?
Oh, sure. So for some background information, if someone had asked me, hey, what's the city up to, a couple of weeks ago, I'd go, well, you know what? We're paving a parking lot. It's got a lot of potholes, and I'm really glad that staff found the funds to be able to do this capital project. Since then, we've been hearing a lot from residents. So our water filling station, it's going to be, we're expecting it's going to be closed for 2 to 3 weeks from July the 3rd to the 22nd. Our staff has been reaching out to the contractor, stressing this is our number one priority project. We must get this done.
One of the things you mentioned, you had a statement about this yesterday, and one of the things you mentioned is that it's possible if the weather is favorable that closure might not last the full 3 weeks. Tell me a little bit about that.
That would be fantastic. So for this project, we're taking it right down, digging it deep and redoing the whole base. And we need to, it's called dewatering, so I get all these new terms. But we have to make sure that the ground is really dry in order to build it up for that base and then do the asphalting. The location of our water station, it's a flat ground and it's surrounded by kind of a marshy area. So we have to make sure that it's really super dry for us to do the work. We don't want to put this money in and then have to redo it again in a couple of years.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. So if the weather is favorable, that would only last for 2 weeks. So what day would it be able to reopen then?
If, we could have our wish, you know what? It could be possibly, in 2 weeks, just giving us a little bit of elbow room because we never know what Mother Nature is going to throw at us.
Absolutely. One of the ideas that some residents, because of course this has been making the rounds on social media for the last few days since the announcement, one of the ideas that some residents have brought up is why is the city not doing a partial closure where they close part of the parking lot and repave that and then sort of move over the course of a couple of weeks. Can you explain to me why that's not an option?
Sure, yeah, and that's a really good question. I think the most important part is having to do the base in one go because we have to do the dewatering of the base. When it comes to the asphalt, that might be an option, but there's multiple reasons. The number one reason is safety. It's quite complicated for the logistics of trying to allow someone to still go in and fill up with water, while the construction work is going. So number one is safety, and then there's the cost. And ultimately, when there's an increase in cost, that's borne by the users and the taxpayers. When there's a change of scope of work, there's, you kind of worry when you hear, that there's going to change order. Mm-hmm. That right there, you can just see dollar signs.
Yeah.
And then, it's also the size of the lot. While it's a generous sized parking lot, while we're doing the work, it won't give us a lot of room, if we're trying to do it in sections. When it comes to the tandem, the triaxle trucks, they need a lot of room for that. So, that's, one of many, many reasons.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. Like you've mentioned, this has been sort of a contentious issue with a lot of people. People have been sending messages to council. People have been posting on Facebook. Tell me some of the most common concerns you've seen brought up and sort of what, if anything, the city is doing to address those concerns from residents.
Definitely. So I wouldn't say it so much as a contentious issue. Water is important. We need water for life. Mm-hmm. So this is a really important thing. And I think it's important when residents do reach out to their elected officials to talk about it. And the primary thing is, where are we getting our water? The extra cost that's involved in it. So, when it comes to the cost, that's why we're really pushing this project. We're making sure that staff that we have on other projects, if they're needed, we will pull them to make sure that we can try and keep this as tight a timeline for construction as possible. Fortunately, the city of Fort St. John, we do have a secondary water station, and that's out on Lakeshore Drive, and that's more for residential fill-ups. And the regional district, they have 5 other water stations, including North Pine, which is currently down. And then, fortunately, as well, there's access to water, whether it's in District of Taylor, Dawson Creek, Hudson's Hope. So, I acknowledge it. It truly will be disruptive for, our regular customers at the bulk water filling station. We're definitely going to work as fast as it's possible, and hopefully it'll just be, one fill up that will have that disruption.
Yeah, for sure. Hopefully. One of the other things I wanted to check on really quickly, I saw in your statement you mentioned that after the parking lot reconstruction is done, once the place is reopened, there's also going to be kiosk upgrades, I believe you said, happening. Can you walk me through sort of what that's going to look like, if that's going to be disruptive at all for people trying to use the station?
We're upgrading our software for the site. And for that, it'll be intermittent. So it won't be closing down for another full week. It'll just be intermittent closing.
Okay. Yeah, one of the other things that has come up in the wake of all of this, there was a message to a resident from a member of council, Byron Stewart, about the situation that was making the rounds on Facebook, where he said he felt the city needed to be more careful about services provided out of kindness. Can you walk me through sort of the city's official stance on things like that, sort of collaborations and offerings to other residents of communities outside of Fort St. John proper that are part of the PRRD?
Yeah, I definitely believe we're stronger working together with our neighbors. And, what benefits my neighbors has an ultimate benefit to my community overall. We do have a mutual aid agreement, for fire protection. Mm-hmm. And we've seen it in action. This summer, we had, the Fort St. John Fire Department, the Charlie Lake Fire Department, the airport, and District of Taylor all working together. So that's a prime example of how we can do more with the resources we have.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. For residents that are worried about this closure, they're worried maybe they're not going to be able to get enough water to maintain their garden. It's been very hot lately, obviously. Is there any message you have to kind of assuage those worries, address those concerns at all?
If they're looking for, water for their yard, things like that, there is the secondary water station out at Charlie Lake. There, fortunately, through the regional district, there's 4 open stations. There's also stations where you can purchase, like out at Stoddard Creek.
Yeah.
So there is, we're blessed with that.
Because one of the concerns that some people have brought up is price. Are the prices at the Charlie Lake station or elsewhere, is the price for the water comparable? Is it the same, or?
I'm not familiar with what the regional district pays. It'll
Okay.
be whatever their standard rate is.
Okay, for sure.
Yeah.
I believe we're nearly finished with everything today. Is there anything else you want to add really quickly while you're still here?
Oh, definitely. There were some questions about, what are the future plans for our water station? Fort St. John, where nothing is on the table to have a closure. There was questions about that. And also to address, when it comes to individual council's opinion, it's an individual person's opinion. We do not get elected as party. We get elected as individuals. And just as you and I have individual opinions, each councillor also has that.
Absolutely, 100%. Really quickly, we've still got time here. Do you want to talk at all about the Canada Day Parade that's coming up in a couple of days?
I would love to. So we have a whole new route, and definitely check out the map. And one thing that is definitely different this year is where the offloading is. It'll be in the old Fort Motors parking lot, so that is different. But we're looking forward. I believe the weather forecast is looking favorable, and I hope to see lots of people out. There's going to be great activities. There's different things going on through grant programs at other nonprofit groups. So, check out the city's Facebook page, and we hope everyone will come out and have a great time.
100%. Yeah, absolutely. There's going to be a pancake breakfast, I saw. There's going to be a lot of activities in Centennial Park. Where can people go to see information on the parade route and stuff like that?
Definitely the City of Fort St. John's Facebook page.
Okay,
we'll have
perfect.
that posted on there. And I do know the pancake breakfast, I've already got that in my calendar. That'll be one of my first stops that morning.
Same, absolutely. One other thing I wanted to check in regarding that. We've seen some residents asking on social media, are fireworks going to be a part of this at all at Canada Day?
Regrettably, not this year.
Okay.
And that has to do just because of the dryness in the area. So we're still in a drought condition, even though we have had some rain recently. But it's, it's out of the abundance of safety, of caution.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. Okay. I think that just about covers everything. Thank you so much for your time today, Lilia. We
Thanks
really
for the
appreciate
opportunity.
it. Absolutely. Stick around. Dub will be catching up with MP Bob Zimmer in just a moment on This Week in the Piece.
Moose FM is out and about, supporting your favorite local business.
You're getting ready for the Canada Day long weekend. You're going on that amazing road trip. You got to have the vehicle in tip-top shape because you don't want to risk a breakdown. The Great Canadian Oil Change can help. My name's Berard, hanging out here for their half-price oil changes. Yes, it's only today. While you wait, they make sure you're taken care of with a delicious cup of coffee. You don't even need to leave your vehicle. And they don't just do lube. They check your lights, fluids, filters, even that tire changeover, especially when you still have your winters on. Half-price oil changes only today at the Great Canadian Oil Change here in Fort St. John on the Alaska Road.
Summer is here and they're ready. Stocking the largest selection of OEM and universal heating and cooling parts in Canada, Pro North Heating has you covered. They sell air conditioners and repair parts, furnaces, air filters, and thermostats. During the months of June through August, receive 10% off air conditioning repair parts such as blower motors, condenser motors, capacitors, contactors, and thermostats. For heating, cooling, plumbing, ventilation equipment, and parts, see Pro North Heating. Shop online or pick up in-store on Old Fort Road. See the full inventory at pronorthheating.com.
100.1 Moose FM is giving you a chance to win cold, hard cash. Enter our Moose Money Mania contest for a chance to win $600. To enter, simply download our app. Click the banner, fill out your information, and wait for the winner to be announced on July 19th. Remember, the only way to enter this contest is through our app, so download it now and join Moose Money Mania. Brought to you by Rhythm Auctions, Rosebrook Flooring, Northern Lights Driving School, Veronica's Closet, and 100.1 Moose FM. The Fort City Chrysler Summer Cruiser is everywhere.
Good morning, y'all. It's Emily, your Fort City Chrysler Summer Cruiser host, and today I'm hanging out down here at Matthews Park, where if you come find me and show me that you have the Moose FM or the Energeticcity.ca apps, I'll be able to enter you into my draw to win $250 to Backcountry. That's right. You could have a chance to win $250 to Backcountry, and all you have to do is swing by and say hi to me. I'm sitting on the tailgate of the big red truck with Fort City Chrysler Summer Cruiser splashed across the side, and it's as easy as that. All you have to do is download 2 free apps and bam, you're in. I also have all sorts of fun little knickknacks. We got some stickers, some temporary tattoos, and so much more. So come on down, check out all the amazing stuff I have, say hi to me, tell me about your day, tell me what you've got planned for the Canada Day long weekend, and have a great day. I'm Emily, your Fort City Chrysler Summer Cruiser host, and I'm down here at Matthews Park.
The Fort City Chrysler Summer Cruiser is fueled by the Fort St. John Co-op, Fort St. John Home Hardware, FSJ Return It, Rhythm Auctions, Lake Point Golf and Country Club, and Dairy Queen.
At Peaceful Pages, not only will you find a large selection of Bibles, devotionals, and faith-based books, but they also carry a collection of Christian clothing, home decor, giftware, and jewelry. Peaceful Pages Christian Bookstore, open Tuesday to Saturday at 101 Avenue, Fort St. John.
Moose Country weather.
Today, you can expect sunny skies, high of 23 degrees. Now, later tonight, it's going to dip to 12, but tomorrow, 24-degree high, sun and clouds with a chance of showers. Looks like tomorrow it's going to rain overnight, but on Sunday, sunny skies, high of 25. And on our Canada Day on Monday, 21, and a mix of sun and clouds.
You can watch this show live on Facebook. Catch the replays at Energeticcity.ca or be part of the show by texting your thoughts to the Fort City Chrysler line at 250-787-2222.
Welcome back to This Week in the Piece. I'm, of course, Dub Craig. Now, today on the show, he's had a busy spring session, as they always are, on Parliament Hill, and there's lots to talk about. We'll scratch the surface at least a bit today with Prince George, Peace River, Northern Rockies MP, Bob Zimmer. Bob, welcome to, I guess, This Week in the Piece, your first time on this version of the talk show, right?
Yeah, no, it's good. Good to be back.
Thank you very much for being here. So why don't we start with this announcement that I think was earlier this week or last week, but the Grays Bay Port and Road. This would be a deep water port in the Northwest Passage. It's kind of been talked about for some time now. This is a pretty big deal
Yeah.
that this is kind of taking a step forward in the process, isn't it, Bob?
Yeah, interesting question for a BC Peace radio show, but no, it's a very important piece of infrastructure for that particular part of the north in the Arctic. One thing that you've seen me talk about a lot is access up there. It's very difficult, just even talking about basic things like food getting up there, but we need road access to that particular area, and a road and port facility that would be there would be key to opening up that whole area for resource development, to say the least. And no, it's a good project.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds fantastic. The other side of it too is, I guess it'll connect with seasonal roads that actually go kind of down to Yellowknife. So it'll be the first time we have a road that goes from southern Canada to, I guess, the Northwest Passage, or one of the first times.
we do already. We have the Tuck Highway.
Yeah.
So that's a project that got done under our watch. Stephen Harper was dedicated. The Nuvik to Tuck Highway, as many know, and I just was up there a few weeks ago. You might have seen some of my videos up there. So it happens, but that's on the western side of the Northwest Passage. But just access in general, it's a big, the north is huge. So to have any more points of access than just one road access specifically is really quite key for the Arctic.
Yeah, and I know this is important to you, and you brought up Stephen Harper. This is very important to that Prime Minister. Arctic sovereignty. This kind of another kind of, again, step towards making more of a case for that important kind of mission.
Absolutely.
That talk a bit about that for a second.
Yeah, well, some I was talking about 3 years ago, and it didn't seem like many others were it wasn't even on the agenda. And I just kept asking questions in question period about it. It's always an issue that we've held dear in our party, but since I just guess that bringing constant attention to it, we've seen attention from the Americans in Nunavik, the base up there, the FOLs, and we've seen some more attention with the North Strong and Free, the defense announcement that the government has made. So there's been added attention to it, which I'm grateful for. But I think what I've been criticizing the current government on is, okay, you can talk about it, and you've been in government for 9 years, yet there's still a whole bunch of zeros as line items to get things done. They're going to discuss it for the next 3 years before they actually build any infrastructure. Well, my goodness, we have China building up a presence in the Arctic. Russia's already there. Russia, because they're busy in Ukraine now, Ukraine have officially asked China to do some surveillance for them in the Arctic. Everybody else is ramping up in the Arctic except for Canada. We seem to be retracting. I've said before that this government has abandoned the Arctic, and I'd like them to prove me wrong, but that's the current state of affairs. And we'll see with a presidential election coming up in the fall. I think we're going to have a challenge before us if we see a Republican president who's going to expect, even the Democratic president is expecting us to do more in our own Arctic and take care of that. So I think we're going to have to address it.
Now, you've already kind of brought something up that I was going to bring up anyway, because everything is connected. You were in Inuvik recently. You do a lot of touring kind of in the north. You're talking about the price of food and really the price of everything, which has gone up everywhere. But as you know, our friends in the north, a bottle of milk is what, $14, $15?
18 in Inuvik, and it's about 23, 24 in Iqaluit and other places.
And so they've seen their prices go up. Our prices have gone up for groceries. I know we talk about this over and over, but what is the solution to this problem? The price of groceries.
And this we sound like we've said it because we say it over and over and over again. But guess how groceries get to Inuvik? It's on a big truck and it's powered by diesel.
Yeah.
So when you put a carbon tax on diesel, that it's already an expensive food price. It might have been $14 before for that jug of milk. Just adds another $2 to $4 of cost when you add the carbon tax on top of that. And then that same truck driver is going to have a house to live in up there. Well, now his heating oil, he has to pay more for, or she has to pay more to stay up there and to live. I just did an interview in a grocery store with a teacher, and he says, I'm one of the lucky ones. I have a good job. But he says, by the time I'm paid, by the time I get my pay for the month, by the time I pay for my rent and my food, there's not a whole lot left. And this is somebody with a good job. And then you deal with the other folks that are the low income people that are struggling, maybe are
people
unemployed.
Who are working in the grocery store, for example.
Sure. But even worse are the ones that are unemployed. And then, how do you go buy that jug of milk to help feed your kids. Well, that's, again, another video I did was, that really forces people into buying really poor food, making poor food choices, because pop and chips and chocolate are cheaper, higher calories. So they buy the high calorie, cheap, really bad stuff for you instead of the good food. And that's causing people just to be, it's bad enough they can't afford food, but now they're unhealthy as well. So it causes a lot of other problems. And you asked that question, but the simple one is carbon tax. Eliminate the carbon tax. We know it's not really doing anything anyway. Just get rid of it.
Mm-hmm. I guess my next question has to do with the environmental impact of that, right? And, we could debate whether it's been helpful on that front at all.
Sure.
But, I mean, you and the Conservative Party, what's kind of your answer to that when people say, well, if you get rid of the carbon tax, then how are we actually going to try and reduce our carbon footprint and increase our sort of environmental stewardship? I know that's a lot to ask, but in brief, I mean, what's kind of the plan forward in that regard? If we're going to axe the tax, I think is the word I keep hearing, the phrase. What's kind of what's your different approach that's going to be different than the Liberals?
You want to, I mean, we can kind of navel gaze in Canada and do all these little things. We only produce 1.5% of global emissions anyway. There's a Mackenzie Wood study that showed that if we limit ourselves in BC to 2 LNG facilities, so 2, that's kind of what we have now, 2, another one was just announced, emissions will still go up. But if we let the market decide, and let basically the market around the world to decide to buy as much of our gas as is available to sell, global emissions dramatically decrease, right? So if you really want to do something to reduce emissions, let's get our natural gas to higher emitting nations around the world. That's an easy one. But our leader has said tech knock taxes too. We have some great intellectual property here in Canada. We have some real smart people that we can find some good solutions to problems here. And let's do that instead of just taxing people more. Because really what we're seeing, is a lot of money getting spent, but not a lot of things getting done. And I'll even kind of bring this into local, into Taylor. The Peace River bridges needed to be replaced for the last probably 10 to 20 years. We've seen a lot of money going out the door. Still no Peace River Bridge getting done. I don't see a lot of infrastructure getting built in our area, yet we still have a $40 billion deficit this year when we're supposed to have this great economy.
Yeah.
It's just not adding up.
I want to talk about wildfires for a second, because, of course, we've seen them in Fort Nelson this year. They were very bad last year. Quebec, it's been a problem this year. It's just kind of this ongoing thing. So I wanted your take for a moment on what you think the federal government response to this should be. Is it doing more to fight the current fires, and of course, how do we mitigate them in the future, whether it's environmentalism or just forests or forest stewardship approaches. What's kind of your take on it?
Just what you said, forest stewardship. I'd call it better forest management. Some of the radical environmentalists and even we have some of that going on in our areas here with 30 by 30 and closing down certain areas, like where they fence off certain areas for so-called protection. But when you fence off a certain area that's got a forest in it, that isn't necessarily healthy or necessarily going to cause it not to burn. A healthy forest is often one that's harvested on a regular basis, that's thinned out. The fuel load is what we call it. That's the trees that die and sort of fall over and they become fuel to be to fuel a forest fire. Well, proper forest management would see forest companies coming in, harvesting, not clear cutting, but properly foresting or cutting down those particular trees and having this management occur. So federally speaking, I think we can set a great example by doing that in areas that we manage federally. But the province really needs to do a better job, specifically in BC, a better forest management job rather than just closing it down. This current government just sees closing down as the solution, access to forests, and that's not the solution. And they're ramping up. They're all about the 30 by 30% by 2030 mantra that Trudeau has been talking about as well. And they're getting the end goal for these guys is 50% by 2050. So to close all that down, I think it's just going to put us at more risk of more forest fires, not less.
All right, one final minute with you, Bob.
Sure. Where's the time gone, Bob?
I know. Looking at the fall.
I wanted to say, Heather, my staff is here today. She's one of my right-hand people in my office, so does a great job in Fort St. John. Many know that out there.
She's often here when you're here, Bob. Our last question for you now. We're looking forward to kind of the session coming up.
Yeah.
This will kind of be the year. Now we're into a year before the next federal election. What are you kind of looking for from the government in sort of things that are going to happen in the fall and going into the winter in terms as everyone starts to really ramp up for what's going to be a big election?
Well, I think a lot of people have a question whether this prime minister will still be there by the end of the summer. But he's showing all intents like he wants to run in an election against our leader, Pierre Poilievre. So we're just going to see the rhetoric increase from their side, attacking us on many things that have been non-issues for many years. But I think for us, it's just, we call it prosecuting our case, right? And a lot of the things that people are hearing about, like the situation about bringing up Canada Post being forced to receive firearms, your local Shoppers Drug Mart receiving firearms because of the confiscation program. People are hearing about that because we're exposing it and we're kind of digging this stuff up. There'll be more of that. We're just going to keep working hard. I think our leader is very humble. He's, hockey analogies maybe aside, is we see the game, we haven't won the cup yet. We have to keep going, even though the polls they look favorable to us. We need to keep working our butts off, making sure that, we're representing what people want us to bring forward to Ottawa. And that means locally here, we're going to be around the riding all summer, but also my responsibility of the territories as well, but just working hard until the election day comes and we can claim victory. But until then, even then, actually, I think the work really starts, because then we have a whole big mess to clean up afterwards. So no, we're very focused on what we need to do now, but also what we need to do in the future.
All right, Bob. Well, thank you very much for taking a few minutes from me today. I appreciate your time, sir.
Thanks, Dub. Have a good summer.
Hey, you too.
Yeah.
That's Bob Zimmer, the MP for Prince George, Peace River, and Northern Rockies. We'll be right back to wrap things up on This Week in the Peace.
Moose FM is out and about, supporting your favorite local business.
You've been putting off that oil change for a while because things are expensive. Fair enough, but that could lead to major issues with your vehicle. The Great Canadian Oil Change can save you from that, and of course, the moolah. I'm Berard, hanging out at their location on the Alaska Road here in FSJ, where they are having their 50% off oil changes. It's only today. And they don't just do lube. They do a lot of things like fluids, filters, lights. The list just goes on and on, making sure that you don't end up with a costly repair, keeping that vehicle running as long as it can be. Let's face it, a new car is what you don't want to spend on right now. Half-price oil changes today only at the Great Canadian Oil Change on the Alaska Road.
Do you have some good news you'd like to share with the community? We here at Moose FM want to share your positivity every weekday. Whether you're fundraising for the SPCA or saw someone doing a good deed in the community, we want to hear from you. Email us at reception@moosefm.ca and we'll share your good news right after the 7:30 a.m. news and on our Facebook pages. Good News is brought to you by Frontier Law.
June is always an exciting time of year, especially for those graduating high school. Your Fort St. John Co-op sends out a big congratulations to all the 2024 graduates. And to celebrate, they're giving all the grads a free medium slushie. Just stop by one of Fort St. John Co-op's convenience stores and enjoy a refreshing slushie on them. Offer valid until June 30th. Celebrate graduation with a free slushie from the Fort St. John Co-op. Wishing the 2024 graduates all the best. Fort St. John Co-op, you're at home here.
You deserve a coffee break. But so does your favorite local business. The Red Barn Cafe and Catering wants to provide a weekly coffee break to local businesses throughout the North Peace. But we need to know where to go before we can drop off the coffee and snacks. Visit moosefm.ca/coffee break and nominate your favorite local business. Is it a dentist's office, bookkeepers, or maybe your favorite place to shop? On Friday mornings, we'll grab coffee and treats from the Red Barn Cafe and Catering and hand them out to the lucky winners of that week. It's the Red Barn Cafe and Catering Coffee Break, only on Moose FM. The Fort City Chrysler Summer Cruiser is everywhere.
Good morning, everyone. It's Emily, your Fort City Chrysler Summer Cruiser host, and today I'm hanging out down here at Matthews Park, but there's something real cool that I want to talk to you about. You know how I'm always telling you, download my app, download the 100.1 Moose FM app so that you can enter into my draw and win amazing prizes, so you can listen to Moose FM from wherever you are. Well, downloading the 100.1 Moose FM app has just gotten better because we have just launched our newest draw, and it's called Moose Money Mania. So essentially, we want to give you a chance to win $600 cold hard cash. All you have to do to enter is download our app, click on the banner, and fill out your information. You can get up to one entry per day, so get on the app every day from now until July 19th for a chance to win $600 cold hard cash. Moose Money Mania is brought to you by Rhythm Auctions, Rosebrook Flooring, Northern Lights Driving School, Veronica's Closet, and 100.1 Moose FM. This is an app-only contest, and you can't enter anywhere else, so get on that app right now.
The Fort City Chrysler Summer Cruiser is fueled by the Fort St. John Co-op, Fort St. John Home Hardware, FSJ Return It, Rhythm Auctions, Lake Point Golf and Country Club, and Dairy Queen. You're listening to the all-new This Week in the Peace. Be a part of the show by texting your thoughts to the Fort City Chrysler line at 250-787-2222.
Thanks again to our guests today, Lilia Hansen and Bob Zimmer, for joining us on the show.
You can listen to this show again by checking out the podcast at Energeticcity.ca/podcasts. We'll store this and future episodes of the show there as we make them. Also, check out our other locally produced podcasts, Before the Peace and Secrets of the North as well. That's our show. I'm Steve Berard.
And I'm Dub Craig. Be well.
Join us again next Friday morning at 10 for another edition of This Week in the Peace, your weekly talk show dedicated to the people, events, and news of BC's Peace region. Or you can listen to this podcast again at Energeticcity.ca.